What if I told you that some of the most unforgettable films in history aren't remembered just for their actors and the directors, but for their sets? I'm Kim Wannop. I'm an Emmy-winning set decorator, and this video is going to count down 5 iconic films that have inspired Hollywood sets for decades. So, literally, number 5, you're going to be a little surprised, I think. But here we go. When production design is truly iconic, it doesn't just serve the story, it creates a visual language that echoes for decades. Entire genres, styles, and even future directors have borrowed from these designs without maybe even realizing it. In this video, I'm breaking down 5 films where the sets didn't just decorate the screen, they transformed cinema. And I'm telling you, some might be obvious to you. I hope you've seen them all. But number 5 is a gem. If you're just a decorator and someone interested in design, I've added a free set decorator quick reference template in the description. It's free, and it's the same tool that I use constantly when decorating sets. All right, so let's jump in here. Sunset Boulevard, 1950. I mean, Gloria Swanson, fantastic. It was up for, I think, 11 Academy Awards. It won 3, including art direction by Hans Dreyer and John Meehan, set decorating by Samuel Comer and Ray Moyer. This film is so important because, first of all, it shows old Hollywood and the second generation of Hollywood, and kind of a true story of how these actors and actresses were being phased out because they were getting too old. So it's the premise of this is just genius. And we've seen it over and over in decades of how actors age out. Sets don't. Actors age out. But Norma Desmond's mansion in Sunset Boulevard isn't just a house, it's its own character. Let's start with the whole behind the scenes in Hollywood that they show. This is repeated in so many films in the last decades. The Paramount Picture Gate is historic. It should have its own star in the Walk of Fame. It's been in so many films. Paramount itself has been in so many films as a backlot. They use the actual writers' offices here. This was also part of the art department, used to be up there. And so showing the back lots was really something genius for this film in 1950. Now, here is a set dressing point that has been used so many times. I'm telling you, people don't even realize. The set here of her trying to get younger, trying to make up her face, and the mirrors that they have, all of the baubles around, all of the jars, all of the lights, her hair dryer. It's such a plot point of her trying to masquerade herself. But how many times have you seen this? Look at Mommy Dearest 1982 when Christina's got the stuff in her hair and she comes in, she cuts all her hair off. It's so scary. It's one of my favorite movies. I love that house. I wish I could have that house. But Mommy Dearest, this Vanity, and the use of mirrors and how directors and cinematographers then use those mirrors in films. We have here All About Eve. There's actually 2 in All About Eve. Her private Vanity in her bedroom, and then also in her backstage uh, makeup mirror with all of the vanity lights is also a great scene, and how it's decorated. Here it's all really plush and all the crystals. Even in Joker in 2019, look at all the weirdo stuff he has around his makeup mirror. That's character dressing. Those things are telling you about this character. I mean, he's got like a tutu up there. I don't know what's going on. He's got a lot going on. The makeup, it's a mess. That's the character. Black Swan, again, we have a makeup mirror here, and how the reflection of the person is used in cinema, how that tells part of the story. And there's so many. There's just so many examples. 16 Candles, Love Becomes Her, A Star is Born, Promising Young Women. There's so many examples of makeup mirrors and how they're used. But looking at it originally in Sunset Boulevard is something else because there's such a sadness to her and patheticness. Like she's so pathetic for trying to look younger and everything. Now, The most famous scene in Sunset Boulevard is when she comes down the stairs. And the mansion is more than a set. It's really like this haunted soul that she has. This gigantic staircase is fantastic. And you can also see this staircase in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane in 1962. The sets are layered with heavy drapery, antique furniture, and just old. Like you can smell the must. That's how great it is. One of the things I truly love in this film is that they actually used Gloria Swanson's photos for scenes like this, where she's surrounded by photos of herself, and the large portrait that was made of her, which is very, remember the portrait in Gone with the Wind? So that's 1939. They're even stealing from that. Look, see the portrait? I mean, it's a crazy amount of vanity and narcissism to have so many pictures of just yourself in your house. But it happens. Look at the First Wives Club, 1996. Her character, she was an aging actress, and look at all the pictures she has of herself, and photos and paintings. So it's used over and over again. There again, this the pictures of themselves, not even like with other celebrities, just like with themselves. One of the great things in the picture is showing the behind the scenes of filming. And this shot is actually of Samson and Delilah, which DeMille was filming at the time, but they used some pieces of the set dressing and moved them to another stage to make this work. They didn't actually use the sound stage that they were filming on. I read that in the Paramount history book, by the way. So, but so many, even Babylon 2022, when you get to see the backstage things, the lights, the construction of it, these are all things that that film helped make, you know, revolutionary when we saw it in 1950. Babylon again, 2022. And by the way, these drawings, there's construction drawings and photos. They're on the ADG website. If you look under ADG nominees for ADG awards, you can look at so many drawings of films and televisions, best nominated pieces from every year. They still have them up there. Anyone who's a film nut should go and look at these. So the next one I have is Marie Antoinette from 1938. Production designer Cedric Gibbons, who is the god of all, I must say. I actually have an art of influence with a whole video of him and set decorator Edwin B. Willis. They are a phenomenal team who, I don't know, I think he has 111 credits, which at the time he was head of the art department at MGM. So he took over all these things. I don't know if he actually did all these things, but he was the head guy. So I'll put it at that. They also have credited set decorator Henry Grace on this film. So Cedric Gibbons worked for MGM and turned Versailles into a stage of pure Hollywood fantasy. If you haven't seen this film, it's fantastic, and it is jaw-dropping, these sets that they built. The ornateness that they give this, the meticulous detailing that brought every level of grandeur that was rarely seen at the time and influenced historical epics for decades. Versailles is recreated at MGM. It had double-sized ballrooms and authentic antiques and massive builds that gave this just such an impressive sets. It's unbelievable. The paintings on the walls, the fabrics, the lighting pieces. It's just a huge set when you watch it. There is, I don't even know if I have it in, there's like a ballroom that they have, this huge ballroom, and all of this gilded and gold. And it was originally supposed to be shot in color, but then they made the decision to do it in black and white, which I think was a bummer, because look at this, it would have been fantastic. The depth that they gave for this, 1938. This is a year before Gone with the Wind. So this was the most impressive film sets that were made at the time. I mean, there's a lot, but this is one of them. I mean, the depth of all of these rooms that they put together that you got, it's really so incredibly amazing. Again, the furnishings, the florals, the lighting, the tapestries. There's a scene in there where it's in her bedroom and it's her vanity and this gigantic tapestry is behind it. It's an amazing film. Now, this scale of film definitely influenced films like Cleopatra, 1963, and that scale. I mean, I've all heard that Cleopatra almost bankrupt Fox Studios, and they had to sell off land in Century City to keep the business going because the movie cost so much. So they have exterior shots that are just crazy in Cleopatra. Another amazing production design. And the fabrics that they have and all the drawings on the walls and the stone and the amount of extras and costumes and everything that they had in that film was crazy. Um, Also, the color palette. The color palette in Cleopatra is phenomenal for the time and always making her stand out. They're always trying to make her, the center focus. Just beautiful stonework, 1967, Camelot. This also was such a huge undertaking for the studios of making this medieval film and all of the castles that they built. These are all built sets that they made. Camelot also is just grandeur and fairy tale fantasy, huge builds, and I don't know. I mean, again, the costumes and all the extras for that film. Barry Lyndon, 1975. This is Stanley Kubrick's candlelit palaces that they used and period accurate design. These, I do believe a lot of them are locations, but then borrowed set dressing that was used for their shots. The most impressive thing for Barry Lyndon is the lighting and the candles. It's a crazy amount of candles that they used, so probably triple wick, but the scenery in this and the fabrics and the furniture, all specific period, is something to be studied on its own also. Also, they got the depth with going from room to room. And I do believe that these are locations, but enhanced. That's what I remember. Dangerous Liaisons, 1988. Also, half builds, half locations. But again, even though you get a location, you still mostly have to dress it as a decorator. I know this. So a lot of times you might have this room, but you might not have that rug. So there's things, and that room's gigantic. So the scale all leads back to Marie Antoinette and how, the influence there of to make it look and feel this grandeur of the story. That's amazing. All right, let's go to number three. Are you ready for number three? All right, King of Jazz. If you haven't seen King of Jazz, it's a must. It will blow your mind that in 1930 they did these set pieces. This is an early Technicolor film that used massive Art Deco stage sets that dazzled audiences of the 1930s. It's a bold use of geometry, mirrored surfaces, just theatrical spectacles that were just a feast for your eyes, I must say, and made every production design a star in its own right because the film is made up of all of these vignettes that builds to this big ending. So from giant pianos to abstract fantasy backdrops, it's all tailored for early the two-color Technicolor process. I have deep dived into this film in my production design film study of 1928 really, but it took time to come out and that's when it was released. So if you want to hear more about those sets, please check that out. They're extravagant, It's an unbelievable thing. The giant book that they stand in front of and move the pages as the story goes along. A gigantic piano that has five people sitting at it. Look at the stool that they had to build for that, and this mirrored palm tree that comes out of the piano. The imagination for all of these sets is phenomenal. Just phenomenal. They made models and had dancers walk through the models. They had this musical at the end that is just this, the whole stage like opens up and is so beautiful. It's, if you can get a good copy of this film, I'm telling you, grab it, watch it, hold on to it because it is fantastic. Now, obviously, films like The Great Gatsby, even 1974 and 2013, the lavish jazz age sets echoing this Art Deco and the excess that that film showed is amazing. Moulin Rouge, 2001, just the flamboyant stage spectacles that are rooted in 1930s design. The Red Shoes, 1948, another phenomenally production design decorated film that you have to see. Um, this shot is of this, it's a painted drapery backdrop that is gorgeous throughout the film for this really important dance move that she's doing there. And of course, La La Land, 2016, musical dreamscapes inspired by vintage Hollywood sets. There's a lot going on in King of Jazz. I only have those three or four pictures. There's probably 20 to 30 different ones on there. So, I mean, musicals like Wizard of Oz or An American in Paris from 1951 also, you know, followed these guidelines for musicals and although like the vignettes, especially in American Paris, really throwback to King of Jazz, I'd have to say. All right, number four, Destination Moon. I bet you never heard of this movie. I'm gonna bet you didn't. Guess what? It came out in 1950. That means it's out. Well, where do we go to the moon? I mean, 20, almost 20 years, a little less than 20 years from when we actually went to the moon. Production designer, art director Ernest Furge, and set decorator George Swally. It's one of the first serious sci-fi films of the atomic age. Destination Moon's futuristic sets made space travel feel plausible because it wasn't real yet, right? Okay. In control rooms, they had rocket interiors, they had the lunar surface, and they were all designed with scientific consultation and setting a template for decades of space films. I mean, the influence here is phenomenal. George Paul's landmark sci-fi film constructed futuristic rocket interiors again. The setting up like the space station and seeing how they it all came together and they're building it and they got planes in the background, most likely because what else are you going to put in the background of like air and space? You're going to put you're going to put an airplane back there for your scenery because no other rockets have been built yet. So the best now it's a little comedic. Okay, I have a shot up of the four astronauts strapped in as they're going up to the moon, and I looked so hard. I don't know what they used to make their faces like flat, but the scene of the gravity pull on their faces, it's not great. It's not great. But it's still, look at the design of it. I mean, how many things have we seen that are influenced by this before it was a reality? This is what's crazy to me is that this is before it was NASA. That's what's crazy to me. And they do some gravity, they do pull people up, they have that going on. They're performing like some dental surgery in there. It's just for sci-fi for 1950, it's pretty impressive, I gotta say. When they go to the moon and they have their big telescope on there, that, I mean, the moon looks pretty good when you measure out what it is when they didn't know. They got a lot of mountains back there actually, but they did pretty good with the cracks in the surface. They made it a little more Marsy probably than Moony. But I love I just love like they've set up their cameras, they've got like luggage out on the moon because who knew that, they would have it big space box. I've done space. It's hard. It's hard. I did For All Mankind. Um yes, I just have to give this film so much credit for influence before the real thing happened. That's what's crazy to me. They have them as flying outside when they're in space, flying around. They have them flying outside the space shuttle. So obviously, there is some influence for 2001: A Space Odyssey. I mean, it's a hyper realistic spacecraft interior going on, but there is still some similarities between the two. I mean, Space Odyssey alone is its own influence on everything. That Blade Runner, you get into that. I'm talking gems that people aren't talking about. Again, the spaceman outside of his aircraft, his spacecraft, and working, they used that in Destination Moon. Apollo 13 in 1995, there are some similarities there because you're looking at the original, one of the original times that they went up there, and you can see the influence of their designs on reality. It's crazy. It's really crazy. The Martian, 2015. Even though it is more high tech, you can still see these modern lighting, the geometric shapes that are used. So there's just a lot of influence there. Destination Moon, 1950. I'm telling you, check it. It's not a great movie. I'm just talking about the design. That's all. All right, here we go. Number 5. Are you ready? I don't know. Are you ready? Here we go. Auntie Mame. Have you seen Auntie Mame? Oh my God. It's incredible. Set decorating and design wise, Auntie Mame, 1958, is such an influence on apartment, house, transition through time. It is a phenomenal film that Auntie Mame is one of the most dazzling apartments in film history. It's a set that literally transforms throughout the story 9 times. And each time it reinvents itself through the decades to show the style of the time. And it has proved that set design could be a character in itself for this film. So production design by Malcolm Burt, art direction by Malcolm Burt, and set decoration by George James Hopkins. Bravo, bravo, my man. As I said, it changes 9 times. There is an Asian, there is a mid-century modern, there is a colonial, there is minimalistic, there's it's it's crazy. And one of the best things is the staircase and the lighting in the staircase. As you can see here, this is the Asian one, and it's a little bit minimal, but really just gorgeous set dressing. The lamps in every version is something just to be in awe of. Every time the lamps are just beautiful. Here, the centerpiece of the look at the staircase again has changed. The color palettes have changed. This is like a dusty rose and a blue. Um, I mean, I don't even know some of the, I don't even know what they're going for. It's so great, but the staircase every single time changes. The chandeliers again from ultra modern to the mid-century to just little specks of light, little light bulbs hanging down. They just did a fantastic job of changing out the same set 9 times. The mid-century version of it, with mobiles hanging around, weirdo furniture that the actors have fun with. Um, just the white, the crispness of some of the iterations of the apartment are fantastic. The federal, when it gets like they got busts of George Thomas Jefferson. They got eagles everywhere. They got books. They got a library. All of a sudden, it's like she's smart. All of a sudden, again, the lamps that change in every version. It's such a great film. It's so fun. I mean, it's a real story of like her taking care of her nephew and everything. Um, but again, moving the scenery around. There's columns, and then there's not, and then there's symmetry, and then there isn't. Like the, it's just a fantastic look of, and then they do her bedroom multiple times. This like chinois type of version with like peaches and grays, and then it goes pink and like Hollywood and Art Deco. It's every style. It's everything. And so the influence there, I mean, to change apartments around or to have classy apartments, the 7 Year Itch 1955, I'd have to call out with that classy apartment as being one example of how you can just nail the period with your designs. My Fair Lady in 1964, of how they show the contrast of her, but then his, proper world that she has come into. That apartment, that house is just a gorgeous. Look at the wallpaper. Um, what a way to go. A funny little movie of 1964 that has a lot of feeling of Auntie Mame from 1958, of constant changing of environment for their character, and the environments become another character in itself. That's a little gem to dive into. I'm not going to tell you if it's good or not. It's got a lot of stars, but yeah, I would say that's a pretty good one too. Um, Devil Wears Prada, high fashion, high design, minimalistic, modern. This type of set is such a character. It's such a reflection of that main character. Even in her home, how stylish it is. It's different than her office, but it's still like a very high end apartment, New York City. Crazy Rich Asians, 2018. Also high style, but minimalistic. Um, the gaudiness sometimes of the sets versus the minimalist of some of the characters' interiors. Always some subtle color versus some really big pops of color for that. So yeah, so there we go. So those are my picks for the iconic films that changed and influenced cinema forever, I'd have to say. So from palaces to outer space, these films prove that sets aren't just backdrops, they're blueprints that continue to inspire generations of cinema. So, which of these designs do you think left the biggest mark? And I didn't go for the obvious. I didn't go for 2001. I didn't go for Blade Runner. I'm talking things that inspired those films. So let me know in the comments what you think. I would love to hear any gems. I love to watch movies. Let me know. And if you want to dive deep into how sets are built and styled and brought to life, my set decorating masterclass is linked below. It's packed with lessons to become a set decorator and what it is to be decorating in TV and film, and it's the tools that I use, and it's a 15 class masterclass. You can have that too. Plus, don't miss Decorating Pages podcasts, where I sit down with production designers, set decorators, all below the line filmmakers, and talk about our craft and what we do behind the scenes. Hit subscribe, drop a like, and I'll see you on the next deep dive. Thank you.